The palace had survived wars, abdications, political storms, family scandals, and 70 years of relentless public scrutiny. Yet whispers inside those ancient walls claim that one of the biggest internal clashes began not with the constitutional crisis, but with one woman who reportedly believed the rules simply did not apply to her. While headlines focused on glamorous weddings and smiling photo opportunities, another story was quietly unfolding behind palace doors. A story where Queen Elizabeth II never needed dramatic speeches or public arguments. She simply made decisions that spoke louder than any press conference ever could. And according to those who watched events unfold, every move carried a message. Every silence meant something. Every royal tradition became an invisible line that no one, not even the newest Duchess, could cross without consequences.
Details about the late Queen's hatred of Meghan Markle and how palace insiders view the final betrayal by her grandson Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Imagine entering the world's oldest royal institution believing you could modernize it overnight. Imagine assuming that decades of protocol would suddenly bend because you wanted them to. That was the atmosphere many observers claimed surrounded Meghan Markle's arrival. While millions around the world celebrated a fairy tale romance, palace insiders allegedly began noticing something very different. The smiles were public, but behind closed doors, tension reportedly started building almost immediately. And Queen Elizabeth wasn't known for explosive confrontations. Her greatest strength was patience. But patience should never be mistaken for weakness. Everything reportedly escalated at Frogmore Cottage. Instead of settling quietly into royal life, stories began circulating that staff members were struggling with difficult encounters and increasingly stressful working conditions. Then came the incident involving a Windsor gardener, an ordinary employee simply carrying out his daily duties. Reports suggested the exchange became so uncomfortable that concerns traveled directly through palace channels until they reached the Queen herself. That alone was extraordinary. Palace staff rarely bypassed normal procedures unless they believed something demanded immediate attention.
At Windsor, I remember, hearing from very good sources that there was trouble. There was a time when she was very rude to one of the under gardeners at Windsor when they were at Frogmore Cottage, and the head gardener went to complain to the Queen, and the Queen went down and ticked her off because the Queen obviously didn't like people being rude to staff.
What happened next only deepened the mystery. Claims surfaced involving nearby parked cars visible from Frogmore Cottage, with requests allegedly made that they be removed simply because they spoiled the view. To outsiders, it sounded unbelievable. To palace insiders, it reportedly became another small piece of a growing pattern. Individually, these stories seemed minor. Together, they painted a picture that reportedly caught the Queen's full attention.
Also, there's a story in the book about Meghan requesting that people didn't park in a nearby car park next to a sports field because she, quotes, didn't want to look at cars from the windows of Frogmore House.
Well, you probably know where that car park is.
I do. I remember we
away.
reported on it at the time, and
yes.
It was the subject of various denials until we finally realised it was a true story and
yes.
indeed published it.
As more accounts emerged about staff departures and allegations of difficult workplace behavior, the atmosphere reportedly became impossible to ignore. Employees who had loyally served the monarchy for years were suddenly appearing in headlines connected to palace turmoil. The Queen reportedly decided enough was enough. Instead of issuing statements or allowing speculation to spiral, she allegedly drove personally to Frogmore Cottage to address the situation directly. That single decision revealed everything about her leadership style. She preferred private action over public drama. While others argued through newspapers, she handled matters face to face. Then came another remarkable episode before the wedding itself had even taken place. Choosing a wedding tiara should have been one of the happiest preparations imaginable. It was a privilege very few women in history had ever experienced. Yet reports suggested disagreements quickly developed over access to pieces from the Queen's private jewelry collection, which should have remained a quiet family arrangement allegedly transformed into a growing palace headache.
Meghan bullying and harassing staff, making them emotional and unable to do their jobs. A list of extraordinary claims from former aides who have come forward to state their case to the newspaper and indeed to the royal family. There are reports that Meghan drove 2 personal assistants out of their jobs and undermined the confidence of a third. And these claims were raised by one of the senior members of the palace staff.
According to multiple accounts, emotions reportedly escalated as requests became increasingly urgent, with palace staff feeling pressured over arrangements involving priceless royal jewels. The crown's historic collection was never treated as fashion accessories. Every piece represented generations of history, tradition, and responsibility. Queen Elizabeth understood that better than anyone alive. When complaints reportedly reached her that voices were being raised and schedules disrupted over a tiara fitting, the Queen delivered what many would later describe as one unforgettable reminder.
Meghan and the firm led up to her wedding to the idiot. The Queen and Miss Kelly developed a close relationship. Kelly was the first person to hold the title of advisor, preparing the big day. Royal brides to pick out a tiara from the palace's extensive collection. Well, more than likely, Meghan wanted to keep it. Oh, I want that one. And then they're like, okay, yeah, that's great, Meghan. Just make sure to have it back by tomorrow. No, I want it. I'm going to keep it. It's for me. It's mine. No, Meghan. This is not the way it works. These aren't freebies. You don't just take home little bags with a tiara in them. This isn't Chanel. Sorry, Meghan. Collection aware as they walk down the aisle, with the monarch having a final say in the choice. Kelly, the Queen, eventually settled on Queen Mary's diamond. A blow-up occurred when Miss Kelly willfully, as Meghan and therefore Harry saw it, denied the bride to be access to the Queen Mary bandeau tiara on loan from the Queen.
It's not a toy, just 4 simple words. Calm, precise, impossible to misunderstand. Those words reportedly ended the discussion immediately. No lengthy lecture, no public humiliation, no emotional confrontation. Just a quiet reminder that royal privilege always comes with royal responsibility. That moment, according to many royal commentators, perfectly captured Queen Elizabeth's entire approach to leadership. She never needed to shout because everyone already knew who carried the final authority. And if those early disagreements already hinted that deeper conflicts were brewing, what happened next would become even more explosive. Because before long, the biggest royal negotiation in decades was about to land directly on the Queen's desk, and this time, the entire world would be watching. The real showdown reportedly arrived when Harry and Meghan announced they wanted something the monarchy had never allowed before remaining connected to the crown while building an independent commercial empire. To many observers, it appeared they wanted the prestige, the titles, the security, and the global influence, but without the obligations attached to being senior working royals. The proposal stunned royal watchers, yet those who believed Queen Elizabeth would simply accept the arrangement underestimated the woman who had protected the monarchy for more than 70 years. She had faced constitutional crises, political upheavals, and family rebellions long before this moment. If anyone expected her to rewrite centuries of royal tradition overnight, they were about to receive a very quiet but unforgettable answer.
And I think the Queen was a little baffled as to why there was this sort of great row going on with the tiara.
Yes, because it sounds like it was a bit of a first in the royal family that it became this big issue.
She did come out with the immortalising the Queen when being told that her dresser was being shouted at and that this thing had to be rushed to London to suit this hairdresser. And the Queen's line was, "It's not a toy."
When the Sandringham meeting concluded, the message reportedly became unmistakable. There would be no half-in, half-out arrangement, no special category created for convenience. The institution would continue operating under the same principles it always had. That decision would ripple through every headline that followed, proving once again that the Queen rarely raised her voice because she never had to. Her authority rested in action, not argument. But according to many royal commentators, the Queen's most effective responses were often completely silent. During major public appearances, subtle protocol changes reportedly spoke volumes. Seating arrangements shifted, processions changed, balcony appearances became limited to working royals. Every adjustment appeared small on its own, yet together they communicated a larger message about duty, hierarchy, and responsibility without requiring a single dramatic announcement. Cameras captured everything. Millions interpreted every detail. The Queen simply carried on. Then came one of the most discussed Christmas broadcasts of her reign. Every photograph displayed beside the Queen during those annual addresses had always been carefully selected. Nothing appeared accidentally. When certain family photographs reportedly disappeared from the arrangement, commentators around the world immediately began debating the significance. The Queen never explained. She didn't need to. Her silence encouraged everyone else to do the talking. Behind the scenes, further controversies reportedly intensified following televised interviews and continuing public disagreements. Stories emerged suggesting extraordinary precautions were taken during private conversations, with claims that important meetings were rarely conducted without trusted aides nearby. Whether viewed as simple protocol or careful caution, these reports added another layer to growing speculation surrounding the family's increasingly strained relationships. Throughout Throughout it all, Queen Elizabeth maintained the same remarkable discipline that had defined her reign. She neither retaliated publicly nor entered media battles. She allowed dignity to become her strongest defense. The famous palace response, stating that some recollections may vary, instantly became one of the most quoted royal statements in modern history. Just 4 carefully chosen words reportedly carried enormous weight. Instead of escalating conflict, they acknowledged disagreement while refusing to fuel public confrontation. It was classic Elizabeth, measured, restrained, and devastatingly effective. The phrase quickly entered royal history because it accomplished something extraordinary. It challenged accusations without abandoning composure. As the years progressed, additional stories surfaced regarding mentoring offers, private guidance, and attempts by senior family members to help ease the transition into royal life. Reports claimed opportunities for advice from experienced royals were extended, but ultimately declined. Whether every account was accurate or not, one perception continued growing stronger among commentators. Queen Elizabeth had consistently offered stability while insisting that the institution itself remained larger than any individual personality. The final controversy proved perhaps the most emotional of all. Debates surrounding the use of the Queen's deeply personal childhood nickname reportedly created enormous tension within palace circles. According to later accounts, what upset senior figures most was not simply the name itself, but differing recollections regarding how permission had been discussed. Once again, Buckingham Palace avoided dramatic confrontation. No emotional interviews, no endless public arguments, just the same disciplined silence that had carried the Queen through decades of unimaginable pressure. Looking back, supporters often argue that Queen Elizabeth's greatest strength was never overpowering critics with louder voices. It was allowing patience, restraint, and quiet authority to outlast every controversy placed before her. Whether dealing with political leaders, constitutional challenges, or deeply personal family disagreements, she reportedly relied on consistency instead of spectacle. And perhaps that is why these moments continue generating such intense debate today. Long after the interviews ended and the headlines faded, one question still lingers inside palace walls. Was every quiet decision simply routine royal protocol, or were they carefully delivered messages that everyone understood without the Queen ever needing to say them aloud?